Welcome back to this week's Coach's Corner. We're going to talk Ponca City basketball with Coach Hibler. The Wildcats return home for the first time in 35 days this week, Coach, and that's a long time for the team to be on the road.
35 days, huh?
35 days.
I didn't realize was that long.
I counted it up for you.
You know, I don't ever look at the calendar, just the next opponent, and whether it's home or away. I wouldn't have realized it'd been 35 days, and I guess it's been before Christmas then, hasn't it?
It was the before the Christmas break there, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's a lot of time on the road.
It is. It includes 2 tournaments, a lot of tough ball games, and speaking of that, this tournament I think was tougher than the Ada tournament that you saw. I think it was better than the Hera tournament too. There were some really Class 6A teams that could win the whole thing this past weekend.
There was. I mean, very good tournament. Deer Creek of Edmond has an unbelievable facility there. They draw a lot of people, especially being right there in the metro area. I mean, their gymnasium, this is the 4th year they've been in it. And, it looks like it. I mean, it's got all the latest amenities that a gym could have and things. And, it's a very nice facility. And, it's one of the premier tournaments in the state this week as far as facilities go. You had that one going on, and then the Tulsa area, you had the Jinx Union Invitational going on, and just unbelievable facilities, and people like to go play in those good facilities.
Well, that is part of it because you seem like you've settled in. Hera, it's an older facility, but that tournament is one you can win some ball games in. Ada's a nice facility, and the same thing. You look for a lot of different things when you go to a tournament, and one of those, though, is you like to make sure the kids, at least in one of those tournaments, get to play in almost a college-like atmosphere.
And it is. I mean, they film every game there. I believe they call it Deer Creek Antler Vision. And, you can actually go back online and Google it and watch the games. You can actually watch the games live as they're being played if you go on the internet and get on their channel and things. So that's a very nice thing. But they have a state-of-the-art training room. Their dressing rooms are very nice, and of course the gym itself is just an unbelievable facility.
Absolutely. Well, the Wildcats back home against Enid on Tuesday night of this week, and after a long week last week of ball games, you get another little bit of a break this week. You have one game against Enid, and could you talk about that ball game a bit?
Well, Enid's very similar to us. I mean, they've kind of been up and down this year. They've won 5 ball games. They're 5-8. They actually won their final game in the tournament that they was in this weekend. So, it'll be a good test for us. Enid and Ponca City have been rivals for years, and that's not going to change anytime soon. Even though we only play once a year now. That rivalry still exists because we get them every year in football and things, but it's going to be interesting tomorrow night. I mean, this is my 10th year here, and we have never won a game at Enid, and Enid has never won a game here. So let's hope that streak continues tomorrow night. But they've got some good athletes. Their new coach Kyle Hildebrand is doing a great job with them, and they're very well disciplined and things, and they play some good people this year, and it will be a challenge for us.
Their conference they play in, Coach, probably aids them, maybe not in the wins and losses, but they take their lumps like we do. But some of those teams they play are gonna beat them, and they probably know that going in right now. So in some ways, they're probably preparing not better, but in a different way than your team is.
Well, they play in one of the better conferences in the state. I mean, it's teams out of that conference dot the top 10 in Class 6A. There's 3 Putnam City teams that are in that thing. Two of the 3 are in the top 10, and the other one's in the top 15. Putnam City Original. Then you have Midwest City in that conference, who's number 2 in Class 6A. You have the 2 Lawton schools. The Lawton boys aren't highly ranked, but the Lawton Eisenhower boys are highly ranked. So, just a very good conference. I mean, they're tested night in and night out and things, and they play a true 5A, 6A schedule. The 2 5As in that conference are Bishop McGinnis High School and Lawton Eisenhower, and everybody else is 6A. So, they see a little different brand of basketball than we see each and every night. a lot of running and jumping and things from the defensive standpoint with those other teams that we don't really see when we play we play Woodward and some of those people. So that definitely presents its challenges for us and things. We play very much like some of those schools we play. So hopefully we'll be able to execute our game plan better than they can execute their game plan. One of the things we've got to do against them is we've got to keep it in a half-court game, and that will be tough to do.
I have been asked this question. I'm sure you have too. But in fairness, we need to point out when you're in a conference, your schedule is pretty much just made for you. You just have a few maybe dates to look at. In Ponca City's case, we're not in a conference, Coach, so those games that maybe would be afforded to a conference member aren't at your disposal, and it's much more difficult to go out and to find those scheduled games.
Yeah, it's hard for us to get a schedule together here. I mean, that is why our schedule is kind of all over the map. We're playing anybody from Okema this year, who's Class 2A, all the way to some 6As, and we're at the mercy of those schools that are in conferences because most of them have no games available. If they do, it's just one game available. So that's why we went to we're going to go to Putnam City North this year. We're going to go to Tulsa Memorial. We're going to go to Putnam City Original. Next year those three teams will be here at our place. But you would like the home and home rivalry that you can get going. We've lost so many teams that we used to play and things. It's just tough to build a schedule, and it's also tough to maintain that rivalry. I mean, we had played Bartlesville for years, we played Stillwater for years, and because of the conference that those two schools are in, they have no available games to play us. I mean, they don't even have one game that we can put those people on the schedule. We're fortunate to keep Enid on the schedule because their conference has one off date, and they choose to play us because of the rivalry. So, going forward, we're taking every step we can to try to get ourselves in a conference. It's just hard to do because we're at the mercy of those people because all conferences have rules that it's got to be a unanimous decision to let you in. And, we're asking every year and things, but, there's always two or three that say no. A lot of it, they don't want to come up here on Tuesday night. They don't want to get home at 12:30 on a Tuesday night. Even though we point out, you guys are coming up here one time, we're going to the Tulsa area or we're going to the Oklahoma City area 6, 7, 8 times a year, and our kids are getting home at that time all the time. The other option we have is that the OSSAA would put us in districts like our other sports at the 5A, 6A level are, but right now there's no talk of that.
Coach, you also had some information about the upcoming playoffs that we learned this past weekend, and not to confuse people, but we're going to go east, but really we're going to go west, and you might explain that.
Well, it looks like we're going to go west to play in the playoffs. Well, the Oklahoma City area, I wouldn't really call that west, but we have 13 teams on the east side that are Class 6A, so the other side of the state has 19 teams that are Class 6A. So every year the OSSAA has to take 3 teams from what they consider the western side of the state, which is basically I-35 and west is what they consider the western part, even though they always send Enid to the east. But they have to draw 3 teams from the Oklahoma City area and put them into what they would call the east. And this year it's going to be Norman North, it's going to be Putnam City North, and it's going to be Edmond Santa Fe. And then, of course, that will be seeded. It's seeded just like the NCAA tournament. You have a 16-team bracket. Number 1 plays number 16, 2 plays 15, and so on down the line. So, we got a lot of the season left before the rankings come out. But, if they came out today, based on what is the rankings today, Norman North would be number 1, PC North would be number 2, Edmond Santa Fe would be 3, and Owasso would be 4. So, there's a very good chance we could go to regionals in one of those places in the city area. Of course, now that could all be up to change because, Tulsa Union's playing really good right now. They beat Midwest City Saturday night in the finals of the Jinx Union Invitational, which Midwest City was number 2 and undefeated. Wassel's playing very well right now. So it's, these last 3 or 4 weeks of the season here before those playoffs eventually come out are going to do a lot in determining where everybody's going to go.
So once again this year, we're going to be challenged in that first round of the playoffs.
Oh yeah, we'll have a very good team that we're going to play in the first round of the playoffs. Hopefully by that time we'll be playing our best basketball and we can control the game, keep the game at our pace, and be able to make some shots on the offensive end while getting some stops on the defensive end.
Coach, thanks for your time. Alan Hibler, our boys basketball coach, on this week's Coach's Corner.